Let's speak with former British Army officer and defence analyst, Lt Col Stuart Crawford. Stuart, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Nice to have you with us. Just picking up on the Prime Minister, who knows what the specific intelligence was on that attack, but, is this, do you sense, is it a tit-for-tat moment? The Houthis attack more cargo, so therefore the US and the UK go in? Or do you sense the UK and the US will just keep up those attacks until they have a real clear idea that the Houthis will stop?
That's a very good question, actually. The Houthi attacks, you'll recall, started, what their explanation was, of course, that it was in solidarity with Hamas in Gaza, and they were only going to attack Israeli flagged vessels or vessels heading for Israeli ports. That's more or less gone out the window, and they're now being fairly indiscriminate in what they launch their drones, missiles and small boats at. And it doesn't really matter to whom these international ships belong. So at the moment, I think we're very much in the case of every effort was made to dissuade the Houthis from continuing with these attacks by diplomatic means, behind doors, discussions, etc., etc. But eventually the patience of the US, the UK and various other allies, rightly, in my opinion, ran out, and retaliation of some sort, some military retaliation was called for. So we had one episode of attacks which the Houthis have disregarded, basically, and continued. And so we now have the second iteration of attacks. And I think that will continue until such times as the Houthis are dissuaded from doing what they're doing, or until their arsenal of weapons runs out.
It is a very delicate, politically, a very delicate operation for the West, of course, who hasn't always covered itself in glory, either in where it's picked a battle or perhaps even the aftermath of a battle. I'm thinking, obviously, of places like Iraq and Afghanistan, etc., where controversy still rumbles on in those areas. In terms of wider support outside of the UK and the US, there are others that have openly supported it. The Netherlands, I think Australia are among them. Do you sense that support will continue, Stuart, or is this a very tricky area for the two big allies of the UK and the US?
Well, I think that that support will continue, and hopefully other countries will weigh in behind it. We mustn't forget that the French also have had a missile, anti-air missile frigate in the Red Sea, and it's been doing its bit in bringing down some of the missiles and drones, which the Houthis have been aiming at passing shipping. But I think we're in dangerous times, and support can come in all sorts of different forms. Bahrain, for example, is quoted as being in support, and I suspect that is purely logistic and basing at one of their ports. The escalation thing is the big question. Will this escalate into something bigger? My personal view is, at the moment, no, but there is obviously potential for it doing so. And if I may extrapolate on that, just to say that in many ways, the Houthis in Yemen and Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in South Lebanon and the axis of resistance in Iraq and Syria and so on and so forth, they're all symptoms of the disease. But the cause of the disease is Iran and the policies coming out of Tehran. And that is something that has to be confronted.
Indeed. Stuart, thank you for your time, sir. Really appreciate that. Colonel Stuart Crawford, former British Army officer and defence expert, with us on the programme.